So today's episode, she is an F1 contractor. She's in demand for the teams, tracks and talent, and she flies around the world working for F1.
And she's also a friend of the pod.
Yep. So, guys, you do not want to miss this episode. Not only is she going to give you advice on how to get into the world of F1 and motorsports, she's got some good stories. And
yeah, we've got some great stories. And
we had to kick her out because we wanted to keep chatting. Anyway, we hope you enjoy this episode as much as us.
And if you're heading to Silverstone, you get a great insider guide. What to do, what not to do, how to prepare. So that was for you, Elle.
Yeah.
This is Paddock 43, the podcast, your weekly rundown giving you all things F1 from both on and off the track.
From races, trades, rumours, the lifestyle and all the things that come with the F1 world.
We are Amy, Elle and Pat. Let's get into it. Intro music. We are replacing our intro music because typically for guests we don't use intro music.
Yeah.
I don't know where that rule of thumb came from for us.
I don't know, but there's a teaser. We have a guest with us.
There you go. Meet Hayley.
Hi.
Oh, she started waving before she said hi. And I was like,
I didn't know if we were live yet. I didn't know if we were talking about the intro or not. But I was like, maybe I'm not a guest. Maybe I'm just going to be like a regular person that sometimes appears.
It pops up. Hi.
We're okay with that. Well, actually, it depends on how much how well you go at the very end of this episode, which we've pre-warned you in the show notes that there were some surprise endings.
I'm a little bit nervous. This is actually my first time I've ever gone on a podcast as a guest. So
yeah, because usually you're on the other side of it.
I am usually a behind the scenes girly, but producing everybody else. But I don't have a producer. I'm here.
Right,
well, we love to have you here, and yeah, it's nice to see you on the other side of it.
So tell us who you are, and what do you do, and how did you get here?
Wow.
Loaded.
How did you get to this room?
Well, for those listening, my name is Hayley. I am a fan experience specialist and producer in sport, including Formula One, which I guess is why I'm here.
Oh, that thing.
Yeah. Yes. I think if I'm correct, Elle started following me on Instagram, I think last year.
Yes.
Elle slid into the DMs.
I slid into the DMs. But also because I was intrigued what you were doing in the F1 because I saw what you were doing and I was like, what is she doing? But then at the same time, I knew your name from around the tracks of that. I worked at the Aussie GP just after you. Mm-hmm. I think that we had a few day crossover or something like that when we discussed the timeline. And then also you'd done things for the Priceline.
Yes.
Yes. And I'd worked for Sukin, which is, for anyone overseas, they're like big pharmaceutical supermarket cosmetic brands things here in Australia. But so I was like, who is this person?
Yes.
Running around in her high vis.
Yeah.
I love being in high vis. Being in high vis with a headset on is probably my happiest moments in life. But I think you asked me to be your person on the ground at one of the races, but I had to politely decline.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
So it's been a few
Wait, what's
requests.
that? I didn't know this story.
Hayley was at a race and I just said, do you want to be our correspondents on the ground and take over the Paddock 43 account when she was clearly working as well. Yes. But, you don't ask, you don't get in these
You're
sort of
busy
situations.
gal during GP.
Yes, but here we are.
So
6 months later.
What do you do with the F1?
Oh, gosh. I feel like I could make a TikTok about this, asking people what they think I do versus what I actually do.
Yeah.
So it's fan experience, which I guess it's a mix of everything. It's a bit of talent management, it's entertainment, it's a little bit of PR, and it's just kind of just like controlled chaos. So if I look at, the last Aussie GP, I was on Melbourne Walk. So if you were on Melbourne Walk, I was the one running around with a headset on.
And high vis.
No high vis come event week, I wish. But, working with Formula One to create that fan experience for everybody that's there. And that includes the driver engagement stages. So if you were in amongst the masses on the stages, working to produce what that looks like, what the questions are, how the interviews roll. So there's lots of people involved in bringing those fan experiences to life. from a Formula One side and from a promoter side, so Australian Grand Prix side or Silverstone side, whatever that might be. So no race is the same. Like every role is always a bit different. But yeah, it's always fun. Like I love race week. That is the reward for all of the crazy work in the lead up to getting to the race. But yeah, it's I love it. I don't actually feel like it's a real job.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how I got there. People ask me, "Oh, how did you get here?" I was like, I don't actually know. Like there hasn't been a linear path, and I've never applied for a job, but I'm here.
So with your, like for the listeners at home, your day-to-day, or not necessarily your current day-to-day, but in the lead up to AusGP, we'll use AusGP as an example.
Sure.
The lead up to AusGP, what is your, a full day? Run us through a full day of what you do. Let's say 2 weeks before or 3 weeks before AusGP. What is your entire schedule for a day?
Well, I try to get on circuit quite early. Obviously, AusGP is quite unique in that it is a street build, as we know. So we're literally building the stages and we're building the infrastructure. So you are working with a lot of third-party contractors to sort of bring that to life. It's making sure you're on track. Like, is the infrastructure in place where it should be? Is the signage up? Is the scrim up? Are the screens in? Are the screens in the right place? Like there's all these bits and pieces that go into just making sure that we're ready to go come Thursday. I guess on Silverstone is a bit different. I've worked Silverstone last year and it's just completely different because it's already built. It's already there. So no day is the same.
Makes your job easier?
Yes and no. Yeah. And then it's just refining it. So we want to be ready to go by the time that gates open to create a really memorable experience for the fan. And that's what it's all about. That's why I love it. Yeah.
What do you think makes success with the consumers or fans from an F1 perspective? Like does that make sense? Did I just ask that correctly?
Yeah.
How do F1 events be
like
successful
how do you
with consumers
quantify it
fans?
or like...
Yeah, it's a good question. I think
there's some formula, isn't there?
I don't think so.
No?
In my personal opinion.
How many complaints did you get?
Oh my gosh, there's always complaints, but I think it is, fans love feeling like that race is special to them. They don't want to see something that's already been on social media on another track at their race in their moment, because then it doesn't feel special. It just feels like a copy and paste from one track to another. So being able to really personalize and localize the experience for the fan is really important. Otherwise, it is just going to feel like another race. So if you went to the AusGP this year, we have an Australian MC on the stages with Ariana. It is bringing in that Australian culture and, our humour, because that's not going to work on another circuit, but it works so well in Australia. So really understanding the fan and what the fan wants is really important. And, people love free stuff. Give them a giant, giant driver head, and you've literally made their life. Like every year I get shocked by people, like that's all they want. They just want the giant heads. I was like, how come the other circuits haven't done the giant heads? Maybe they're too expensive, but they're a fan pleaser. But
maybe they think that we're just weird.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it works. But I mean, that leads me into my next question. Obviously, you've worked on Melbourne Walk a lot, and the giant heads are on Melbourne Walk, and that's what everyone's signing and holding up, and they're in all the content.
Just like knocking people out of the way.
Yeah, we're very aware that a lot of the international GPs are wanting to take Melbourne Walk. And this is a sticky topic. I'm looking at your eyes just popping out of your head right now if you're not watching this. And how do you see that working then if you're not wanting to give the fans the same experience in each city and they're like, oh, I've already seen that. Like say for myself, if I'm off to another, Singapore or Silverstone or something like that, I'm like, oh, Melbourne Walk. Obviously it's not called Melbourne Walk.
The Singapore Walk. Singapore Stroll.
I mean, I don't know if it's possible on every other circuit. I think we're so lucky just the way that if you have walked around Albert Park Lake outside of the F1, that is a footpath. and it just happens.
Logistically, it just works.
Logistically, it was meant to be.
Yeah.
So thank you to Westy and everyone that came up with that. I did listen to his podcast episode a couple of weeks ago, and it's so special to Melbourne, and I think I've got this feeling that the other circuits are going to try and steal it.
For sure.
Like, I can just see it happening. For those that go to Silverstone, there is it's called In a Track. There is a version of it, but it's not like Melbourne Walk yet. I think it's only a matter of time before they make it like
Does it
Melbourne
have
Walk.
potential?
It has potential.
Interesting. And what's your favourite track that you've worked at? Or
Or
favourite?
before we ask that, maybe where else have you worked? So you've mentioned Silverstone, obviously OzGP. Where else have you?
So last year I was lucky enough to go. I did Melbourne, I went to Silverstone, I went to Singapore, and I went to Austin.
Good.
So it was a wild ride. I mean, I don't know if I can answer that. I might not get my contracts back from my other circuit.
Maybe what were your favorite? Let's say, what are your favorite things of each of those races or those
that
race
bring
weekends?
a different experience for the fans.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What? Yeah. Well, actually, that's the next question.
Because, and maybe start with Singapore and Austin and then get into Silverstone because I'm going later this year and I want to know more.
Are you? I feel like we could do a whole segment on first timers to Australians' first time guide to Silverstone.
All right, I think that's
Should
where
do
this
it.
podcast is going. So, all right. So, favorite things: Austin, Singapore. What makes them so special for them, and why people should go?
Singapore. I loved Singapore. You know, it is a night race, and that just gives it a whole nother element. You know, you get to hang by the pool all day and then go to the race at night time, and it's just got this really magical feel in the air. Which I loved.
Yeah.
The entertainment, I'm always biased towards how they do entertainment, but just the music lineup in Singapore never disappoints. Who was there last year? It was Post Malone, Robbie Williams, Kings of Leon.
Elle with Robbie Williams. Triggered.
Just only because 2020 he was supposed to be at Melbourne. I was
Of
supposed to be introing him on the
yes.
stage, and
Were
I was
you?
at the gate, and I was like, and then they were like, OzGP cancelled, even though I was pretty much knew that night before. I was just being hopeful, but
Still waiting on the stage with her microphone.
I'm still waiting for the
Everything's
call
been packed up around her.
I'm still waiting. No, he's coming.
You still could have done the intro just to nobody.
I have it in my
Could have
head
gotten
many
a
times.
cutout head of Robbie Williams.
Next time we'll bring a giant Robbie Williams head.
Anyway, triggered.
But wow, yep. Post Malone, Robbie Williams.
And just the food. I mean, I'm a big foodie,
Singapore
and
food.
just the way they do the corporate hospitality there is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think if you are lucky enough to be able to experience the hospitality, or if you're looking at a race to like spend your money at,
Singapore.
I would go to Singapore.
Also, it's so accessible for us. And then, you've got guaranteed amazing weather. I feel like Singapore as a city, it just completely, I mean, I've been there around the same time as F1 weekend. And it's like the whole city is alive. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole city's always alive in Singapore, let's be real.
Yeah.
But everything is just Singapore GP. Like,
Well, it's literally built around the
Yeah.
city. One of the train stations, the underground stations, gets closed off to
Yeah.
be part of the track. Like, it's just massive.
must suck if you live there. But like,
Yeah.
if
But
you're
the
trying to kind of get to work every day and you're like, cool, all these people are here.
I feel like everyone in Melbourne complains for the week that we
Yeah.
shut down
Yeah.
Lakeside Drive, but in Singapore I think it's a bit longer. But
It's one street that we
Yeah.
closed off here, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, how dare they?
I know. It's like, come on, you still get to drive on the
Yeah.
track up until like the last minute. You said the hospitality.
Yes.
What is so different about the hospitality in Singapore compared to Melbourne?
yeah, I can only speak to my experience, but I was lucky enough to attend with a team. I won't say which one it is, but they collab with a local chef everywhere they go. So I love that element because you're bringing in that, again, the localization. So they're using a high profile chef from Singapore that has a restaurant there and doing a pop-up restaurant
God, it
in their
sounds delicious.
hospitality in the paddock. So they're literally taking a 5-star restaurant and building a kitchen and creating these amazing experiences in a pop-up kitchen, which to me is absolutely mind-blowing.
Yum.
Like, so just everything about it was just beautiful. Even like the way they print the menus and just, I was just, from a logistical point of view, I was like, wow, this is incredible, because it's not easy to do pop-up anything, let alone a pop-up kitchen and restaurant in Singapore in humidity 9 trillion. Like it's just, if you are going to go and you've got the money, I would spend it and go Paddock Club for sure. Maybe we should go to Singapore and do Paddock Club.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Sounds really tempting.
Just thinking about like the chili crab. Mm-hmm.
Maybe we need someone. We should do the podcast at Singapore, and then we have a reason. We have a legitimate reason to go.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
I mean, I don't need a legitimate reason to go to Singapore, but
I told Tom I was going to go to Singapore anyway. Yeah. So, hi Tom. Sorry, Tom, if you're listening.
Well, it is our second race as Australians. As you said, it's an 8-hour flight. You can go for the weekend. You don't need to go longer than that if you can't. Yeah. And there are a lot of Australians at the Singapore Grand Prix.
Yeah. Love that. And what about Austin?
Austin is
very different.
Polar opposite to Singapore.
Polar opposites, but so fun. It is, I mean, I've never been to Texas, so just the difference in that in itself was amazing. Like when I was walking into the paddock, they had, they're not called bulls. What are those ones that have like...
Oh, not a bison.
Are they not bulls?
Yeah.
Or buffalo.
I don't know, but like a really big cow.
Yeah, like the buffaloes with the big...
Elle, can you like overlay? I'll give you a photo for those. We're going to put this on social.
Not even going to Google what that...
Anyway, they had...
I was going to say a bassoon.
A buffalo? I don't know.
Buffalo.
There's got buffaloes.
Yeah, they have like it's like a signature
Our
Texas
second
thing.
major audience is Americans right now, and they're all just sitting in their seats going, the big cows.
They might love it. It might go viral. That could go viral. But they had like, his name was Tex, just out the front of the paddock. Ooh. And the way that they themed the paddock, you know, with cactuses and cowboy hats, I just loved it. And on race day,
So he was a real buffalo?
Real.
Oh,
yeah. I'll just put the video so you can put it on social so everyone can see what I'm talking about and tell us what it is.
Tell us what they think.
But
identify this animal.
It's just... I mean, the track itself is pretty wild. The owner of the racetrack, he took his favourite turns and corners and bits and pieces from different tracks from all over the world.
That's awesome.
And combined them.
Did not know that. That's really cool.
So cool.
Yeah, so it is, I mean, Austin, if you're going to go Austin, go Mexico because they're always back-to-back as well and do the double because I want to do Mexico this year. That's what I'm aiming for. So if the Mexico GP is listening, they need a fan specialist, message me. But I think all the tracks have these really great things about them that make them unique and they really are able to, you know, localize them and make them feel special. So you get that experience and no track is the same.
All right. So then Silverstone, I'm going this year. What's going to make it special for me attending Silverstone?
Well, it's the home of motorsport for one.
Well, besides that fact.
Where are you staying?
I am actually staying in London. So I'm getting I think it's the train and then the bus. When I looked it up, it's about a 2.5 hour journey from where we're staying. Although someone mentioned to me helicopters.
I was going to say, are you getting the helicopter?
Well, I need to look in how much this helicopter is because... Tom, stop listening if you're now listening now. That could be quite a fun little birthday extra surprise for him because I did buy the tickets for Silverstone for his birthday present, but then he said that doesn't count. So now he just gets free
excuse me? What are you talking about? This is for you.
Yeah. So I'm dragging him with me. But now I'm thinking about getting the helicopter. And so
which he'll also be like, that's kind of for you too.
Yeah. I mean,
your feet are going to be sore.
The helicopters are just... They're non-stop the entire race. Like it is just helicopter up, down, up, down. It is like the busiest airspace in the UK over like that race weekend is the busiest airspace or something crazy like that. Yeah. And it's just helicopters in and out the entire time. But then for everybody else, obviously you can camp.
Yeah. I
don't know if I see that happening.
There's glamping. You can glamp or they're also doing... the fancy caravans. What are they called?
The Airstreams.
The Airstreams, for the first time this year, which would be cool.
Ooh.
That's an option.
Maybe I'll look into that.
I think you can have up to 5 people. So
Do you guys want to come? I mean, I currently only have tickets for qualifying on the Saturday.
yes.
I strategically just booked the Saturday because we land in London the day before.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm going to be very jet lagged. And
But it's
I
a good
thought
way
it'd
to
also
keep
be
you up.
easier to get back to London on Saturday night. But I have now seen the entertainment that is happening at Silverstone and it looks phenomenal.
So main stage. I don't know. Kings of Leon must be doing the F1 circuit or
Yeah.
something. Stormzy. Have you ever seen Storm?
Yes.
Like incredible. Pete Tong with the Heritage Orchestra. Rudimental, which were also at the 27 Oz GP and that popped
Yeah.
off. So they're always good.
Yeah.
There's a second stage as well, which is called the Drivers In stage. So that's more sort of tech talks and podcasts. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
You could get the podcast on there.
Hey, Silverstone. You up?
Maybe.
Yeah.
They have their family zone, Red Bull Energy Zone, which is epic. You know, they do it very, very well. They have like skateboard ramps and
that's cool.
all the
Ooh,
motocross.
I want to go there.
Yeah, that's fun.
Can I do all of this in a day though? This is like a lot to do in the day.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to watch some racing and it's not going to happen.
You're going to have to be there like first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Well, the gates do open very, very early.
What time do the gates open?
Like 6 a.m.
Oh, I think the first train's at like 6 a.m.
Because over almost 50,000 people camp at Silverstone. So it's not
What?
it's not like Australia. It's not like Singapore.
Yeah.
Where it's built around the
Accessible.
city and you get the tram 6
Yeah.
minutes to the circuit. It is a circuit in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So most people do camp. So it's like a festival that features the Grand Prix.
fun.
It is a different level. It's like
There would be so many people that have just been doing it their whole lives, like going camping with the family.
That would be like
At
a
Silverstone.
fun
Yeah.
family
Yeah.
tradition.
I
Actually,
mean, I don't like camping, but yeah.
I did mention to Ted Kravitz when he was in Melbourne. I was like, I'm going to go to Silverstone, and he sort of gave me this look of like,
are you ready? Are you like are you Silverstone ready?
I reckon I can kick off
He was
the,
like,
the
why?
douchey heels and chuck on some sneakers.
I
don't
was
know.
humbled.
Is it? Well, that's what I feel like I'm going to. I
But
thought
I was
pretty laid
working.
back.
I was working though, so a bit
Yeah.
different. But I think as a guest, if you're mentally prepared, if you're
Is it just like Glastonbury F1 edition?
yes.
Okay, so you're saying gumboots.
Mud gumboots.
Well, obviously check the weather because you don't know what it's doing over
can't see
there.
that
But
far
last
in
year it was
advance.
hot. It was
Okay.
actually hot. I think we had one day of rain and then the rest of the days were hot, which I wasn't expecting. But the weather can change. It's like Melbourne weather. So it is, you've got to just be really prepared. Like I have seen a lot of girls in Facebook groups that I'm in chatting about Silverstone and
Outfits.
outfits and just, I don't think they're mentally prepared.
So for the listeners at home, not just for this one right here.
I was like, you still have to, it's still great.
So what advice? So
don't
if
know
you
what I'm
can
gonna
camp,
wear.
camp. Obviously check the weather. Standard in the UK.
If you can
Standing in
camp-
Melbourne as well, to be
Yeah.
honest.
If you could, I would glamp. That would be
Glamp.
cool.
Sorry, glamp.
Or I'd get the Airstream.
I would
Glamp or Airstream.
Yeah.
could glamp.
Get there early.
Get there early.
Yep.
If you can actually win some paddock tours this year via the main stage. So
Oh,
if you're at the
awesome.
main stage, you're going to do some giveaways and also on Silverstone Radio, where you can meet the drivers and you can get into the inner track, which is sort of like their
Okay.
version of Melbourne Walk.
So where do I need to then position myself? Tom's going to hate me after
With
his
her Paddock
birthday
43
trip.
hat, Paddock 43 top.
I was thinking, I was like, I'm going to be fully decked
Oh,
out.
you
I'm
have
like,
to.
I'm going to look like I'm an absolute
have
promo
to.
queen over there. I was like, do I wear my crop top Paddock
Ted will
43?
be like, oh,
or do
she's
I wear my
back.
full- yeah, I know.
She's back.
I know. I feel like there would be a few people that were in the OSGP paddock that I was an absolute pest to. They were going to be like, oh, shit, her again.
Well, at least the paddock there is
You-
about 10
yeah.
times bigger than the Melbourne paddock. So
Yeah.
you could probably
Get lost.
get lost or they
Disguise.
won't see you.
Yeah.
They'll see you.
I think my,
You've seen how tall she
my
is.
disadvantage there is, my height.
yeah,
They
that's
see-
true.
They see a 6'2" girl walking down and 9 times out of 10 people sort of go, ooh, because they think I must play basketball. And then they see me like just standing there and then I fall down and they're like, no, she doesn't play sport. Now I am looking up currently right now helicopters. So I want to get a helicopter. How do I arrange this? I mean, this site says it's £99, but surely it's more than that.
Yeah, that is wishful thinking. Maybe for like the petrol.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to chat to someone at Silverstone about getting you a helicopter.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go.
If they're listening, I'm sure they are.
It's
Love you guys.
obviously for Tom's birthday, and definitely not because I can't be bothered.
Oh my gosh, they also have a nightclub called Mahiki. You could take him to the nightclub and get the bottle service and like happy birthday.
Oh,
So they have it at the track?
Yes.
What?
Yes. And
Oh my
when I was
God.
working there last year, we stay on track. So you sleep on track and
Do you glamp?
not on the actual track, but
Do you like camp when you're working there?
it's sort of an in-between. You get
Yeah.
like a hub.
Yeah.
If they're called like bunker bins. I don't know what they're called in
Oh,
Australia,
gosh.
but they're on
Oh,
the
yeah.
construction sites.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I know exactly
Like a
what you're
shipping
talking about.
container?
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. So you sleep in
Okay.
that
The
so-
army uses.
Are you literally
Training
on like
camps.
on a bunk bed, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so you're sleeping on the track. I like to say that because people get shocked in Australia. They're like, what do you mean? You don't go home? I was like, no, you're there the whole time. And it's a 24-hour live site. You know, that's the difference between,
Yeah.
the Melbourne race and the Australian one is because people do go to the club, after
So
the
it
race.
doesn't close?
It closes, I don't know what time.
How do they police
Yeah,
that everyone
especially
gets
'cause-
out?
Especially when you say that. I didn't know that because Vegas shut down at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
and opened back up at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
So if Vegas have to shut down in the city that never sleeps,
But at least, like, Vegas,
I guess they're on a farm.
Yeah, it's in the middle of
Yeah,
nowhere.
which-
It is in Silverstone's the middle of nowhere, but also so the nightclub's not 24-hour nightclub. It still closes at like, I don't know, 1 or 2 or something. But I remember like going to sleep and just hearing like the music, like the
ground
pounding. And I was like,
vibrating.
oh, I wish I was partying. And then I was like, so tired.
I guess
But
also Jeremy
the
Clarkson.
campsites are 24 hours.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Jeremy Clarkson, he's right next door, so he's probably all for it and supporting it, being like, yes, stay open longer.
Yeah. gosh, it really does sound like a festival.
Yeah, even the traffic. So if because it's country road, so it goes one way. So in the morning it comes inbound from, I don't know, 6 a.m. till 3 p.m. in the afternoon. So if you want to leave before then by car, you can't. You've got to wait for the traffic to be turned around to go outbound again. So
Ooh.
it is a huge operation. It's so amazing to watch.
Wow.
Yeah.
We are extremely privileged that we have it right in the middle of our city.
We have, yeah.
that we have such easy access.
Like,
I mean, we were
so many
parking near the
options.
track and having to walk like 50 metres and
Literally.
complaining.
it's a bit more than that.
I guess you were pregnant.
I was
so-
like, excuse me, I got you your
Yeah.
pickup for the pregnant lady.
Yeah. Haley, one day I was like, Haley, this pregnant woman, she can't walk anymore. It's too much. And she organised a car.
how long
I
did
was
that,
able to use the accessible
how long
car
did that
service.
Yes.
accessible car take to get
It
out
took a
the
while,
track?
but you know what? It was so worth it.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. Thank you, OzGP,
Thank you,
Ops
OzGP,
team.
Ops
Love that.
team.
Yep.
And thank you, Haley. I was like, I wish I'd known about this sooner. The first 2 days, I was like, oh gosh, my feet.
Especially when I was making you walk back
And I
and
was like, I
forth from
swear
turn
I'm not a
10.
princess. I normally would not care. It's just the pregnancy part.
So getting around on Silverstone as well, it is so massive. I think that's the biggest thing when I got there. I was shocked by how big it was, which sounds crazy because you're like, oh, I've been to the OzGP. It's big. But the Silverstone's just massive. Like it's so big. It's actually 2 racetracks and then they make it one for the Grand Prix and then they use those tracks for different race meets throughout the year. So it's just
I remember that.
massive. And to get around as a staff member during the event, they have like the black cabs, like the black London cabs,
God,
because they
so
don't have
cute.
golf buggies, and then they have the red London buses.
Oh my gosh.
So it's
Actually?
What are
Yeah.
the buses? Like the buses are for the staff.
to get the teams around, to get staff from one end to the track, because if you walk, it'd take over an hour.
What was the attendance like last year at Silverstone?
Oh, don't quote me on the number, but it was a record-breaking event, and it did do more numbers than OzGP last year. So I wonder if OzGP beat it again this year. I feel like it's
is
just
that the
like
war?
it
They're
is
trying to one up each other.
Yeah.
So the
But-
attendance was 480,000.
Oh yeah, so we beat them,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Thursday's not a huge.
No, we didn't beat them.
didn't we?
No, we were 425 this year. Weren't we?
I thought we hit 500.
Guys, don't look at me for the numbers.
Oh, we're looking.
Yeah.
We are looking at you.
Yeah.
Don't look at me for the numbers. I'm just the creative one.
Yes. So Australia, we had 452,000 attendance over the 4-day event. But like you just said, we're smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they've obviously got the more space. But 50,000 people camping is nuts.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to be
they
that
get
many.
out very quickly as well on the Monday. It's like it never happened.
Wow.
I love that. Working in F1, you would have seen a lot, especially going from various tracks, Australia, Singapore, Austin, Silverstone, the good and the bad. What have you experienced?
I would say mostly good. The people you meet is just like nothing you can compare it to. You know, that level, that global community, you just meet so many interesting people and people are just so engaged. I've never worked in another sport here in Australia that has that level of engagement. Like it is, yeah, it's just fascinating to me. Like I remember actually at the AusGP, I had to run off to Officeworks to get something and I was in my uniform and the guy was like, oh my God, do you work in F1? What do you think about Lewis leaving Ferrari? Like it was no hello. It was just like, oh my God, someone to talk about F1.
Yeah.
And like, imagine someone coming up to you being like, oh, Buddy Franklin, how do you feel about him retiring? Like, you know, that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So
it's got that elite
it's got,
sports to it.
Yeah.
I think just the people that you deal with is pretty, and in sport, it's pretty crazy in itself. Like part of my role is dealing with talent and managing talent. So I've been able to build really great relationships and sometimes like a message will pop up on my phone and like whoever it might be, I'm like, oh my God, this is so weird. Like this person's messaging me. I don't know.
That's exactly what I was
Oh
going
my
to say.
God. And I know everyone at home is like, who?
Who's messaged her?
Oh, no,
I
like,
want to know
I
now.
was driving home the other day. My phone was plugged in to the car, and my husband, we were driving, and I got a message because I also work in other codes as well. So I got a message from Aaron Finch, who's like the Australian cricket captain, about a show that we were doing, and then it's 2 minutes later something from the stat man Sean Kelly, who does all the stats for F1, and like Karun Shandok, and like to me they're just normal people. And it feels like, oh my God, what did they say? I was like, they're just asking what time something is on. Like it's not anything, but it's still kind of crazy that's my job.
Your life.
And it's I mean, I'm not a fangirl, so I think that's probably why it just feels so normal to me. But
Well, I think that's why probably someone like you can do this, because there would be a lot of people that would probably not be able to do this job because they would just be fangirling the whole time.
100%. I think, I'm definitely not a fangirl. Like my first ever Formula One that I worked in 2017, so pre-Drive to Survive, very different world. I knew nothing about Formula One. And I think that's why I got the job, because they were like, okay, you're going to be doing garage tours and managing competition winners, doing driver meet and greets. Asked me, and I was like, oh, I know Lewis. Like, I think that was the only driver I knew. And
surely Danny Ricciardo as well.
Oh, yeah, of course, and Danny Rick. And the first, I can't even believe I'm going to tell this story. The first driver meet and greet that I had to do was with Red Bull with Max Verstappen. And it's like 2017, like a very different looking
baby.
He was like a baby, and I'd made a piece of
child.
paper with everyone, and I put everyone's photos on it because I was like, I genuinely don't know who anyone is.
It's like the Devil Wears Prada book.
Yeah.
And I was like, my colleague at the time, he'd gone to get the competition winners to bring them through the paddock, and I had to go find the Red Bull rep, and I couldn't find her, and then I was like, oh, that guy there. I was like, looking at my paper. I was like, I think that's Max, but like he looks like a kid. I was like, oh, excuse me, are you Max Verstappen? And he was like, yeah.
He would have been such a child back then, though.
He
2017.
was. He was
like,
young.
Baby.
He was a baby. So, I mean, I know the drivers now, everybody, but back then I didn't.
I've worked with them enough to know who's who.
It's just different though now. It's a different level of celebrity, the driver, to what it was back then. And I guess that's sort of the Drive to Survive effect and
for sure
how big social is and stuff now. Like it is just a different world. But, I think walking through the paddock and seeing people that I know and having people come up to me and ask me how was Singapore or how was this, like that will never get old to me.
Yeah.
I can't even believe that I get to walk through the paddock anyway and to walk through the paddock and people actually know who I am. Like that will never get old.
I guess it just shows like how good you're doing your job.
I'm trying. I mean, in terms of the bad, I'm a freelance contractor, so it does mean that I travel a lot by myself. So like I went to Silverstone last year. I didn't know, you don't know anybody. So you sort of just arrive on circuit. You've got to build rapport straight away. It's super busy, insanely busy. You don't have your support network like you would working in the Oz GP, and you're not going home to your house where it's familiar. Like there are moments where it can be a little bit isolating. So, that sort of passes, and then you realise where you are and what you're doing and you move on. But yeah, I think that would probably be the major downfall to it. But, I choose to live in Australia and travel to the races. Like that's my choice.
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool. Not that I love long haul flights or anything, but
she's a
I mean, it's a good time to it's a good time to get work done.
It's a good time to catch up on Paddock 43, the podcast.
Yeah.
yes, I do. Yeah, I download them before I get on the plane for sure. But yeah, sometimes you're on the ground for 5 days.
Yeah.
That just throws you around
And
a bit.
overcoming jet lag, just, there's no time.
It's kind of not a thing.
Yeah.
Like you literally don't. You sort of just
No time for jet lag.
You don't. You don't have time for jet lag. It probably just hits you like 2 months later.
Yeah.
And you're exhausted.
Or at least that night when the club in Silverstone is going off, you're like, well, lucky for jet lag,
I want to go to this club.
You have to go.
All right.
have to go.
I'm so go.
Another quick one.
Yes.
How many Oz GPs have you done?
3.
3.
Yes.
Nice. Which one was your favourite?
This year.
Yeah.
I had
Is that 'cause we
the
were there?
best time this year. You guys were living your best lives. I was like, maybe I won't work next year. Maybe I'll just come and have fun.
At one point, Pat and I were like, we were sitting in the lounge, and we're sort of sitting in the lounge where you overlook the entrance of the paddock. So you're seeing everyone walk in, and everyone's walking in, blah, blah, blah. Like there's drivers, Australian celebrities, whatever. And then you're on the overpass. And we were like, Hayley! Like we didn't care what was down there. We were like, Hayley!
Did I have like massive headset on that I couldn't hear anything anyway?
No,
yeah.
no, you didn't.
Really? I swear.
You were with Morgan.
Oh, yep. Morg's Taylor
And-
Fritz's girlfriend,
Yes.
good friend of mine.
And I think she was doing photos with my friend Eugene. So
Oh,
And
yeah.
you didn't hear us.
no.
No.
But we were more like,
I usually have like my my hearing has gone by Saturday for sure.
I'm really sorry,
You've
by
got
the
the
way, for
blinders
everyone
on.
that I just yelled into the microphone. I did not mean to. Hopefully I turned that down well enough. And any advice for anyone wanting to get into the motorsports? Like in a contract position or full-time?
Yeah, I get this question a lot, especially like people messaging me on Instagram or LinkedIn. And I think it depends where you are in your career. If you're just starting out and you really want to work in motorsport, I would move to the UK.
Yeah.
Get your youth visa, go over there. You need to be in front of whether that's Formula One or F2, you start your way up. It depends what you want to do. But if you're young, coming out of uni, I don't even know if I should say that, but my advice would be go to the UK and try and build a career there. There's not many Aussies in F1 working in F1 because it's really hard. Like it's really hard to build a network when you get one race a year, or if you're more into moto, if you're only getting that one race a year, it's one touch point. You need multiple touch points. You need to be over there. I mean, for me, it was a bit different. I came into it later in my career, but I had that sporting background and that entertainment background in different sporting codes. So sort of once you're in, you're able to network and meet people, but I still had to go over to the UK. I still had to go over to Silverstone, and anyone that I knew somebody in a team, I was like, can you please introduce me? Like you've just got to have hustle and grit
And the drive.
and you just almost have to have like no shame. Like you just one email is not going to get you in. Like I think I had 4 teams that I was like, that I have to meet them while I'm there and start to build a network, and so they knew who I am.
Yeah.
And I think I met all except one. And anyone that I knew that knew anybody, I asked them to introduce me, and then I just kept emailing until I got a response. And I think initially I went really corporate on the email, which is not me, if you can tell. For those listening, I am not corporate. I'm not, I am quite outgoing. I was like, why am I writing these really corporate email, like dry, boring emails, and they're probably getting 100 of them a day from random people. That's not me. How do I stand out? And I just flipped it and I just was like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing.
Especially the kind of work that you're doing. It's not something, it's like you're going in as an engineer. You're going into a role that's exciting and fun, and you're having to put yourself out there. So it's like, obviously, if you come across as this sort of dry old bean.
And they've got plenty of dry old beans around.
A lot of dry
as
old
well.
beans there. Then
there's a lot of them around.
So basically be yourself.
Be yourself, and don't try to be somebody else. So I think also, I don't know why I keep coming back to this, but there aren't many Aussies in F1, and I feel like I've connected with most of the Aussies that are working in the teams and working at FOM over there, and we've almost built our own little community within the F1 community because we know how hard it is. It is really hard to get a job in Formula One. So, I still have so many more, things that I want to do to consider myself successful in the goals that I set myself. But from the outskirt, you'd be like, oh, I've made it. But it's like, I've got all these other things that I still want to achieve and I'm not going to stop until I get there. So, it is nice to talk to people that understand what it's like because there is a lot of rejection. And you have to sort of take it, and it's not always personal. Like, it's not really ever personal.
It's not personal at all.
Ever. So you sort of just got to keep going. And when you're able to say to someone, oh, I met with this person and they're like, oh, yeah, they're great, or keep pushing, or maybe talk to this person, having that network. And I've never met most of them are female. I've never met any of them in person. It's all like we just chat on WhatsApp and Instagram. And so it is. Like I said, the F1 community is great. Like, they're so supportive and engaging when you find people that are in that like-minded sort of space. And I think, I think that goes for any sport really. Like, I think what the guys are doing over at Sportsgrad, if you're coming out of uni, is great. And, they're building a community. What you're doing with the podcast, you're building a community, and that's what it's all about. So you just keep pushing and people will join, and everything sort of starts to fall into place. But, you've just got to back yourself in if that's what you really want, because it's not going to happen overnight. And you've got to have the steps in place. So that role might not be, your dream job at Red Bull. It might be all the way down, in something else, but you've got to put the pieces in to keep building to get there. So as long as you're learning, meeting new people, just keep going. You'll get there.
I think that kind of reminds me as well, another friend of the podcast, Jack, who we had a couple of months ago, who worked in the engineering department at Aston Martin. And, he started off right at the bottom, had an incredible experience, but he was like, look, I'm not going to lie. It's hard work. It's full on. It's not this glamour, it looks super glamorous. Oh, you work for Aston Martin. He's like, you're doing crazy hours. And a lot of people aren't necessarily cut out for that. And on the surface, it looks great. But
I think everybody sees on Instagram race week.
That's it.
Yeah, they see that. They're like, oh my God, your job is amazing. And it's like, yeah, it is amazing. But you don't see all the hours that go in the lead up to that. Working in sport is not a 9-to-5 job. It is a life, and it is going to take over your life. So you want to be committed. And just give it a go. Have fun.
Can I add something onto that as well?
Of course.
I don't know. Now I feel inspired. What I would say to someone wanting to work in motorsports as well is intern, and also starting at the bottom as well, just like whatever. For me, when I worked at the AusGP, I work in marketing. I always have. I've always sort of been in the social media content, digital focus. The only position at the time was sales admin. And I was like, oh, well. YOLO.
Foot in the door.
I was like, I'll take it. And it was incredible because I worked across other people in the business, in the corporation, I should say, picked up on different skill sets, because even though I took something that was not my usual realm, I then was starting, other teams were relying on me for different things, and I worked in different areas and I got to know different people. And I think that's also something to consider, that even if it's something that you're like, it's not in the exact area, you just never know.
Give 100%.
Give it a shot.
Just say yes and figure it out.
And the other thing adding on to that as well is, don't necessarily expect that you're going to go into a full-time job. It's 9 times out of 10 going to be a contract role.
And I think that's fine to expect, because everyone that was 2018, I still speak to everyone that I worked with across all the different departments. Now working, I guess we are technically working in motorsport in a different area. We're talking in the content podcast space, but having those connections still now. And because I got to work with them on so many different avenues, and also was being myself and authentically myself the whole time.
Yeah.
Because if I was anyone else being in the sales admin role, just being like, I'm going to type and behave myself and not talk shit, I wouldn't have those connections today.
No.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's 100%. Say yes, figure it out. I mean, when I took the role with AusGP last year, they're like, oh, the role's in entertainment. And I was like, what does that mean? Book DJs? Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, I'll figure it out. And then now I have this crazy new skill set and I get to travel the world doing it. And had I not said yes, who knows where I would be right now. So just
Being
say
a yes,
yes
person in life pays off. I think that's good advice for anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes, ma'am.
Be yourself and be a yes person.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got to get you out of here. So we're going to do some little surprise
Questions.
questions.
Oh my gosh, I'm nervous.
Quick thinking.
Okay.
Quick thinking. Patty, do you want to start us off?
Favorite driver.
Yuki.
I was
He's
not
lovely.
expecting that.
Yeah.
That's the most random answer.
Really quickly,
I
why?
love him.
Why?
I don't know. He's just so cute. I was like, I love, of course I love Charles, like everybody does. But yeah, I love Yuki.
Yeah.
I was just not expecting that
Yeah.
for you to say that.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Has he been easy to work with?
I mean, I've never dealt with him directly. I just love his whole demeanor. I don't know why. I love
So
it.
cute.
He's fiery like you.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why. Maybe I can just feel his energy
Quiet, and then he's like, ah!
until he stops.
Who is coming third in the Drivers' Championship in 2024? God, no, I really threw a rapid one in there of third.
I know who.
Is it Ferrari?
Drivers.
A driver.
Oh God.
I know.
I mean,
Carlos?
anything could happen.
Was it Carlos?
I would say Carlos, yeah. Do
Yeah.
you mean like right as in at the end of the season?
at the end of the season.
Yeah. I
This
would
is your
guess.
prediction. pretty
I would
much.
predict Carlos.
I hope he's higher.
You hope he's second.
Yeah.
Do you think he'll be able to take out Checo?
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, wouldn't we all? Wouldn't we all?
I mean, I love Max. I love seeing him win. You know, people hate hearing that, but I was like, I think he deserves all of his success.
Yeah. I remember you saying that you've said he's always been so lovely to deal with, which
Yeah.
is a nice thing for the listeners to hear because I was surprised.
He's
When you
exactly
told me
who
this.
he is, you know, in interviews, racing, like he is who he is. He doesn't pretend to be anyone else. He works really hard. I know who he is now. No.
We're besties. He's one of the guys that's
You can
sliding into the
recognize his
DMs.
name.
Who's coming last in the championship? Driver.
Wooden spoon.
Pierre, probably,
Oh, yeah, well, he is now.
which is sad because I love Pierre as well.
I know.
Yeah.
We love Keka.
Yeah.
Sad.
More than that.
I hope not, but
If Lando Norris was an ice cream, what ice cream would he be?
a splice.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Good answer.
We had like a 10-minute conversation on what ice cream we thought drivers would be.
We had to cut it short in the actual edit of the podcast because we literally went on for 10 minutes and I was like, I think there was about 10 minutes of every few minutes me going, all right, guys. And then Amy and Pat would just go back and I was like, guys.
Like, but wait, that person would be that.
Stop talking about ice creams.
Alrighty, if I were an F1 driver, who would I be?
Oh my gosh.
You also have to pick one for me as well. So you could just define both of us
Yeah.
on the current grid.
Charles,
Fuck yeah.
Ooh.
it's very European. I feel like you could have multiple.
Grazie mille.
Yeah, multiple.
We speak the same languages, so
Yeah, how many languages do you speak?
4.
How many? He speaks like 5, right?
Yeah, I think he speaks 4. French, English, Italian, and his Spanish is like, meh,
Yeah,
just like my French at the moment.
yeah. And then is the next question who Elle would be?
Yeah,
I think you'll actually love the answer to this.
I know who. Can
Oh, can it?
Can we go 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to guess what you're going to say?
Oh my God, I'm really excited. I've got butterflies.
I just realised it's not a driver.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
No, okay. No.
Can it be just someone in F1?
It can be, but now I'm scared.
Toto.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I have like the if he dies, he dies?
You've just got the the demeanour.
But I was going to throw in a
Damn.
bit of Danny Rick in there as well.
I get Danny Rick
Maybe.
sometimes. I think it's just because I can be a little bit like goofy, but not on purpose.
Fun.
Just not like I'm trying to be goofy. It's just I'm just genuinely.
I mean, I
adore-
don't think you can be Danny Rick and Toto. They're two polar opposite personalities.
I have two polar opposites.
But I feel like you've got elements of both. Elements of both.
All right, last one before you get out of here. Fuck, marry, and say no.
Because we don't kill.
Oh
We don't
my
kill.
God.
We say no. Zach Brown, Gunther, Christian Horner.
So someone wrote this in last week and I had to
I'm not
answer.
doing this. I can't do
No,
this.
you are. You
No,
are.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
You're going to answer it.
We did last week.
We did last week.
We answered
What
it
did you
last
do?
week.
We married Gunter and
Yeah.
then we were just
We
like
had to
kind of
sleep with
tragically
Zach
being
Brown.
like, oh, sleep with Zach Brown.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And then kill Chris.
Yeah.
But I want to work for Red Bull, so I can't say that.
No,
Well,
you
he
say
may not be
no.
there for much
No, you
longer.
say no. You shake your finger. We don't-
Hypotheticals.
Hypotheticals. That's why I've changed it to fuck, marry, and say no.
Yeah.
No. Hayley, thank you so much for coming in today. We really appreciate it. It's been amazing hearing about your career in F1, where it's come from, and hopefully some people out there have taken some great advice as well.
We've loved having you and it's just been amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much
Getting your insight.
for letting me be on my first ever podcast as a guest.
Well,
So-
I now semi feel prepared and also scared for Silverstone, so I don't know how grateful I am for you being here. Now I know more.
Look, guys, if you want, slide into my DMs. Any questions you've got about Silverstone. Maybe I should tell Silverstone that I'm becoming their unofficial Australian spokesperson.
Well, didn't you bring some merch along with you?
Oh my God.
Oh my God, you've got Silverstone merch?
I have a hat for you. Brand new.
Hang on. Can I wear this in that Silverstone? Oh, no, because...
Oh, you're giving Toto
You're
vibes
giving
right now.
look, you're giving Toto vibes with the
hair up.
with the hair up, like Toto in the garage. It's iconic. That's become his iconic look.
Yeah, the galah look. That's actually a really nice hat.
God, Silverstone. Killing it.
Then I also have the Silverstone jumper, but this
Love?
was my uniform, so I don't even know if I was meant
They
to take
sell it?
this.
Oh.
I feel
I love
like...
That
it
looks like
though.
something you definitely want to take home.
I didn't. Yeah.
Unofficially, you didn't hear this here, so I'm going to change my voice. If you work for a GP, take one piece of your merch as mems. Don't do that.
I've never taken anything from OzGP.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought you were about to say I've never taken anything from anyone.
No.
I was like, you just said...
No, I don't. I don't need any of that uniform.
What are you saying? I have a jacket.
You have a jacket. We've seen it all on social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I haven't asked for that back. I know a lot of them listen to this podcast, so you might get an email tomorrow asking for it to come back.
Statute of limitation, that jacket, you could have had it back 7 years ago.
Yeah, surely it's a few seasons old, you know.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of track merch. I probably should try it, but I just end up with too much stuff.
Yeah.
We should do my own. Maybe we should do our own merch.
Yeah. Although in saying that, OzGP's merch was fantastic this year.
Yeah, they did good
I
job.
wonder if the other tracks do as good of merch as what OzGP has.
Well, I quite like the colouring of
Probably not.
That hat's not too bad.
Yeah.
They did, an exceptional job.
Well done, merch
Shout out
team.
to
Also
OzGP.
part of the entertainment team. Well done.
Yeah, so you're like, that was actually part of me.
It definitely wasn't, but we'll take credit. But yeah, that's an idea. I think we should do merch for the girlies.
Yeah.
cool F1 merch.
Yeah, we're
Watch
all
this
about
space
that.
podcast. Maybe that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Hales.
Thanks for
Thank
joining
you for
us.
having
You'll be back
me.
for sure.
I hope so.
Oh, and then you'll be back, and then also we'll be recording in Singapore.
Yeah.
That's
Oh my
the goal.
gosh, yes.
Put it in the air.
So now we have to lock it on. Anyway, I'll message you from the helicopter on my way to Silverstone as well.
If you get there, I won't even be mad. I'll just be amazed.
In the helicopter. I'm going to find it. I'm going to get in a helicopter and surprise Tom for myself.
Tom, you can walk.
I feel like at this point, Tom's not even coming to.
Yeah. He's staying at home with the dogs.
He's my camera boy. Okay. Bye.
Bye.